Chapter 4. The Delve. No need to check the battery gauges of your suits, my friends. These things last forever. Master Delver Torben, Masa, deceased, long-lost artifacts and forgotten wonders lie in wait for the explorers in Coriolis, the Great Dark. From windswept boulder fields and ice crags to claustrophobic tunnels and vast vaults in the depths of old moons, it all comes down to delving into the unknown. During the delver, the explorers have to overcome the Blight, straying mysteries, and incomprehensible foes. Class and depth. Delves are categorized into a class and a depth. The former measured from 0 to 3, and the latter in a number of depth markers. The class is the estimated difficulty of the delve, and the depth is how deep and long it is, and thus how much supply is needed to traverse the area. Together, these two factors will allow the explorers to plan their delve accordingly. The higher the class, the more dangerous the delve is, and the greater protection will be needed. The depth of the delve naturally affects the time and amount of supply it takes to complete the delve. Classes. The following is a breakdown of the 4 current delve classifications. Class 0, the lowest classification and the most common. Non-existent to very mild blight levels, easy to navigate, and no major obstacles reported. Can be undertaken without a delving suit. Class 1, mild blight levels and washings or some minor obstacles to overcome. Very common and is considered a safe delve for most experienced explorers. Class 2, medium to medium-high, blight levels and or substantial obstacles. Considered a hazardous delve and a challenge even for experienced delvers. Proceed with caution. Class 3, high to very high blight levels and afro or major obstacles. Extremely challenging delve only to be undertaken by the very best and most experienced delvers. Fatalities are not uncommon on Class 3 delves. Proceed with extreme caution. Depth. Depth is measured in markers, used because of the depth and distances markers left by early explorers on most charted delves. Deeper delves require more resources, i.e. supply, and take longer to complete. Each marker takes approximately 1 stretch of time to complete. Roles and talents used in delving. During the delve, the explorers take different roles. The 4 roles used in the Quickstart are Delver, Scout, Burrower, and Guard. The role taken affects the obstacles that the explorers might encounter during the delve. The roles should be assigned based on attributes and talents. Although it is possible to change roles from delve to delve, or even in mid-delve, useful attributes and talents for the roles are listed below. Delver, Agility, Insight, Ruin Delver, Acrobat. Scout, Perception, Logic, Cartography, Scan Operator, Archaeology, Glyph Scholar. Burrower, Logic, Strength, Demolitions Expert, Miner, Quarter Mastery. Guard, Strength, Perception, Doctor, Bodyguard, Fast Reflexes, Weapon Talents. If you have fewer explorers than roles, assign multiple roles to each explorer until all 4 are assigned. The roles in the bird. The bird can be commanded by all of the crew, although it is most common that the scout is the companion of the bird. Prior to the delve, after assigning roles to the explorers, it's time to issue them with appropriate suits, delving equipment, and supplies. It is important to know who carries what equipment and amount of supplies. Handling supplies. Supply come in many different forms, such as oxy canisters, rations, water tanks, battery packs, etc. No matter what it is, you still only label it as points of supply on the character sheet. 4 points of supply have the same encumbrance as 1 item. The total number of supply points carried by the explorers is added together and written down on the crew sheet. As supplies are consumed during a delve, Check the circles on the crew sheet. When 4 supply points have been used up, erase this from one explorer's item row. This means the explorer drops any container the supplies were in. There are many ruins that are littered with the detritus of former expeditions in this way. Of course, the explorers may drop supplies for other reasons, such as to collect artifacts or other loot. When to decrease supply. The list below describes situations where you decrease supply by 1 for the whole party. How often you should decrease supply depends on the situation in question. The intervals in the table below should be seen as guidelines for the GM. Delving, after 1 marker of depth. Combat, after a combat is finished. Strenuous activity, after an activity such as climbing, jumping, recovering from broken, etc. Resting, after 1 shift. How much supply? A delve is commonly between 15 and 30 markers deep. This means the explorers need to carry supplies with a supply rating of 30 to 60 to traverse the delve and return, if unhindered. Incidents, combat, and exploration will increase the use of supply. No supply left. If the explorers run out of supply or just risk running out, then it's time to turn around. Each time the explorers venture 1 marker, without spending a point of supply, they risk taking damage, despair, or blight. This affects each delver, and no armor will protect. Many expeditions have succumbed in this way, venturing too deep into the vaults and ruins. Roll separately for each explorer. The only way to avoid this is to set up regular camps, or stop and make camp and let one of the delvers return to the surface for rescue if such a thing is possible. How this will be done is explained in the full rules and does not fall under the scope of this quick start. Effect of no supply left. Roll a d6. 1 to 3, take 1 damage. 4 to 5, take 1 despair. 6, take 1 blight. Supplies after the end of a delve. When returning through parts that have been explored in a ruin, vault or cave system, there is no need to make rolls if the GM doesn't deem that something has occurred that has changed the situation remarkably. However, supply points are still needed and will be used up. At the end of an adventure, this will only affect the crew of delvers if supply reaches 0 before they return to the surface. In that situation, tally damage, despair, and blight. To see if a delver becomes broken. If broken in this situation, the delver is forced to roll for a critical injury of the appropriate type. Scanning the ruins. Meticulous explorers will not venture down into the deep without performing a scan of the area beforehand, as well as repeating the scan at regular intervals, normally using a depth scanner or proximity sensor. The first depth scan will give them a somewhat accurate map of the delve and may also indicate places of interest, but may not be able to discern every nook and cranny of the subterranean ruins. What a depth scan cannot do is locate the blight areas or discern exact amount of blight. The only way to be sure about the blight is to use the bird to scan ahead, reporting back through a special type of scanner. There is a form of environment scanner that supposedly can detect the blight, but any sane explorer won't trust that kind of device. Scan the depths to scan the depths. Roll for logic. Modified by the scanning equipment to get a map of the delve. It is not possible to scan a delve or ruin without appropriate equipment or instruments. In that case, the explorers will have to go in blind and will use up more supplies to explore the ruins. To delve blindly modifies all delving rolls, agility, with a -2 penalty, and consumes double the amount of supplies during events as well as per marker delved. Even when scanning successfully, some areas might still be obscured. If the scan failed, you can try again from a different vantage point or position. But to do that, you'll first have to delve blindly at least 1 marker away from the previous position. Send the bird forth to scan for blight. A cautious crew of explorers will send in the bird to scan for blight as soon as they have a physical scan map, searching for places of interest, and most importantly, scanning for blight. The bird companion, or any other explorer, rolls for insight modified by any appropriate talent and lets the bird go. As the bird returns, the explorers can see where the blight is located through a special Garuda device and mark it out on the scan map. If the explorers don't have a bird or the insight roll fails, they will have to venture forward without knowing, exposing them to a higher degree of blight. Any blight levels of 1 or more is increased by +1. If the scan for blight with the bird failed, you can try again from another position. But to do this, you'll first have to delve without a blight scan at least 1 marker away from the previous position. Down the hole, climbing down into the abyss takes courage and ingenuity. An experienced delver, as well as the right equipment, is essential. To undertake the climb down, which is as much finding the most secure way as climbing or abseiling, the delver makes a delving roll using agility and any appropriate talent and equipment. Every success leads to 1 marker of progress down the delve. This also indicates how far the explorers will travel before an event occurs. There is no such thing as an easy delve. Even a successful roll will lead to an event for the explorers, but at least it will take them further down the delve. Failure, on the other hand, means that the crew makes no progress and will lead straight to an event as mandated by the ruin in question. Taking blight after the delving roll, the crew will suffer any blight there is in the area. If the delving roll makes the crew pass through 2 areas with different blight levels, they will suffer the highest amount. The explorer will automatically decrease their heart with a number of blight equal to the local blight level. Remember that the blight protection of an explorer's suit can protect against the blight. Manifestations of blight. Blight has different physical manifestations that also correspond to the varying degree of blight concentration and dangers to humans, called frost, dust, and ice. Frost refers to the crystalline form of blight that covers many of the surfaces in the ruins. This is usually the first warning sign of its presence. Dust is an advanced spore state of the blight. Some call it snow, referring to the phenomena when bigger flakes of spores fill the air. Ice is the gravest state yet discovered of the blight. It can take many different forms and colors, encapsulating whole buildings or creating vast frozen areas. Delve modifications. Delving blindly, -2 on all delving rolls, agility, and double the amount of supply used. Equipment, variable. Delving without a blight scan by the bird, +1 to blight level above 0. Scanners. There are a lot of different scanners and sensors the explorers can use. The most common are described here. The deep scanner is portable and can scan to a depth of approximately 10 to 15 markers. The scan is reproduced as a map, including areas of physical risk, but not the blight levels. The Garuda device is portable and can communicate with the bird and plot blight areas and blight levels. Events during the delve. There are always surprises, even for the most experienced explorer. After the roll for delving, agility, something will happen. Roll on the table in the sky machine to see what kind of event befalls the explorers. Each event has a designated roll that is affected. If you roll the same event again, move down 1 row in the table so as to expose a new event. An event can never be repeated. The event table in the sky machine is an example of things that might befall explorers. In the full rules, there are extensive tables and guidelines for creating events during delves. Supplies during the delve. The supply rating will decrease during the delve. For every marker the explorers traverse, they must decrease their supply by 1 on the crew sheet. If an individual explorer drops or loses supply for any reason, the supply rating should be decreased by the same amount on the crew sheet. The supply rating also decreases after combat or when exploring a specific part of the ruin. Recovering from the Blight during the delve. When an explorer is broken by the Blight, their fellow crew members need to help them recover. This is done by sanitizing the explorer by rolling for logic using applicable talents and equipment. This counts as an action. If the roll is successful, the victim immediately recovers. Blight equal to the number of sixes rolled. The bird, depending on its abilities, can also be used to sanitize a victim of the Blight. Base camp and forward camp. In extended delves, it might not be possible to traverse the entire ruin without setting up a base camp or forward camp in the ruins. This helps the explorers to stack supplies, but also is a place to retreat to when in need of recovering from Blight. How to set up camp will be described in the full rules and is not part of the Quickstart. The delve in short. 1. Pack your equipment and supplies. 2. Scan the ruin using logic, modified by talents and equipment. 3. Send the bird forth using insight, modified by talents to scan for Blight. 4. The delver leads the way into the deep by rolling for agility, modified by talents and equipment. 5. If successful, the delve progresses the same number of markers as the rolled successes. 6. Decrease supply by the same amount. 7. Roll for which roll is exposed to an event. 8. Repeat to proceed deeper into the abyss. The bird. The explorer's most important companion is their bird. Without the bird, delving is much more perilous and uncertain. The bird statistics. The bird has no attributes but a specified amount of health, an energy level, and a list of abilities. The bird's energy level and abilities. Every bird can use powerful abilities, but not all the time. The abilities cost energy to use. The amount of energy depends on how powerful the ability is. At the start of a campaign, the bird has 3 energy points. Every time the bird, coaxed by its companion, uses an ability, it has to spend a specified amount of energy to activate it. Some abilities are weak and don't need any energy to perform. The bird recovers all energy after 1 shift. Using bird abilities. The bird does not use its abilities by itself, but is coaxed by its companion to perform the feats of its abilities. Although it is possible for any explorer in the group to command the bird as an action to use an ability, it is normally the explorer assigned the scout role, that is, the bird's companion. As a companion, the explorer gets a +1 modification when coaxing the bird. To use a bird ability, the explorer rolls for insight, modified by the bonus of the bird ability. If the roll is successful, the full effect of the ability is used, but even if the roll fails, the ability takes effect to a lesser extent. There are rumors that there are fell creatures of the Great Dark that can control the birds and even hurt them, but most explorers think of this as the old Coriolite tales of Ginny, pure superstition. In the Sky Machine, the group has a bird assigned to it, in the company of the scout. The bird and the Blight. The bird is the only sure way to scan for Blight, but luckily, it seems to do this job perfectly well. Sending the bird ahead to scan for Blight and reading it through the Garuda device does not cost anything and does not decrease its energy level.